Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And the big news that has been going on the last week or so has been about this alleged Episode 9 draft by, of course, Colin Trevorrow, who is the original person who was going to direct and helm the Episode 9 project up until around 2017 when he parted ways with Lucasfilm because of creative differences, which is just yet another reminder as to why the current state and the current leadership at Lucasfilm really does need to find a change, because if this script is to be believed to be the direction that Trevorrow wanted to go in, and seeing that the source is someone that I personally think is worth talking about, which is Robert Meyer Burnett, and also has been now confirmed and picked up by many other sources, including people, shills like Collider.com, it seems very likely that this script is indeed legitimate, even though it is dated back to 2016, meaning that we would have had a lot of changes to the overall end product by the end of its run. It still does show that Trevorrow had seemingly had a grasp of the characters and was going to at least try and make the film be somewhat cohesive with the other films that previously came before that. Now, that of course does mean that it seems that he would have paid some respects to Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, but at the end of the day, when you have one film in The Force Awakens that sets things up, and then you have another film in The Last Jedi that says, screw you to all the things that he's done, and then you have another film by J.J. Abrams in the Episode 9 script that we actually got that also says, screw you, Rian Johnson, we're going to do the things that I was planning on doing, but now I've got to change things like bringing Emperor Palpatine and all his other crap in order to fix your problems. It leaves this cacophony of just complete noise and mess. At the very least, it seems Colin Trevorrow's script would have at least made some sense and would have been at least connected to The Last Jedi. Now, whether that would have been a good thing or bad thing, obviously it's a movie that we're never going to be able to see fully fledged out, and likely will never get a fully fledged script either. However, it is still worth talking about because we are at a state right now where, yes, as of today still, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is still doing better before inflation than Rise of Skywalker. Again, yesterday, Tuesday, was the first day in which Rogue One had passed up the day-to-day numbers and the official total numbers of what Rise of Skywalker has made domestically so far before inflation, and that seems to be continuing, and I would not be surprised if that trend continues on, especially with films like Bad Boys 3, which I don't think is going to be a huge mega hit, but is definitely going to be taking in some money. We'll be making some big bank at the box office. And of course, 1917 will probably continue to do very well, probably coming in at that number 1, number 2 spot once again. And other films, of course, are set to come out over the next couple of weeks. But let's go ahead and dive into this article from Bounding Into Comics. Also, a shout out to Bounding Into Comics because they actually featured me in an article that they wrote. So John F. Trent featured me in an article talking about the underwater box office and how it looks like that film is going to be a huge box office flop, seeing how much it costs both to produce it, which was around $64 million, and also how much it costs, therefore, to promote it, and that the film is pretty much set to not make any of its money back and to have a huge financial loss, and seeing that it is currently under contract with Disney because it was a Fox property that they just threw into the January where films go to die month, that they didn't really care all about it, which is kind of interesting because you would think that a movie or a studio would want to make some money back on its investment, but I guess they thought January, being as slow as it is, would be the best that they have, especially with a Star Wars film that by all real, conditions and all real metrics is failing in comparison to a lot of the other films, even though people continue to complain about people like me and others talking about it and still saying that it is failing in comparison to and in conjunction with the other Star Wars films that have happened previously. Again, $1 billion has now disappeared between what we had in The Force Awakens back in 2015, and that's before you adjust for inflation, meaning probably around what? $1.2 billion or so. Well over $1 billion basically of revenue has now completely disappeared since Disney took over Star Wars and since they started. And obviously the damage can be seen even more so when you go into things like toys and when you go into all of the different merchandising things which have just been falling apart ever since they took over. It is worth talking about. But let's go ahead and look at the alleged Episode 9 script that was leaked by Robert Meyer Burnett. So an alleged early draft for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, bearing the original title of Star Wars Duel of the Fates, which, by the way, oh my goodness, already from the name alone is such a better name. Not only is it a great name, not only does it seem to indicate what the story is going to be about, but it also pays homage to John Williams. It also pays homage to the originals. And I think that's what Colin Trevorrow's script was in its essence trying to be. It was trying to be an homage not only to the work that came previously, including giving respect to Rian Johnson, saying, hey, at least I'm not going to crap all over your story. I'm going to try and make it work. I'm going to try and make a cohesive story that, actually will respect the fans this time. But hey, it's nice to be throwing a bone every now and then. Maybe Lucasfilm could learn a little bit from that. And that instead of just giving us cheap one-liners or giving us cheap nostalgia, that if you actually give us a well-thought-out, well-constructed story, which basically, based on what I've read, seems to be the early drafts, again, very early drafts of Duel of the Fates, which I'm sure could have turned into a very good movie at the very least, a cohesive film at the very least, would have been amazing. So reading the validity of the original, or regarding the validity of the alleged script, Burnett does not directly address how he viewed the script and continually jokes with the idea that maybe I made this all up, but he does confirm that he did look at something myself, though remarks that it no longer exists in any form. I will confirm, says Burnett, I did look at something myself. I'm not saying what it is or where I even saw it or how I saw it. It no longer exists. It no longer exists. It no longer exists in any form. So no, I can't in fact share it with anyone. If the alleged script is to be believed, Duel of the Fates would have taken a much different direction than The Rise of Skywalker, as evidenced by the opening title crawl being devoid of any reference to Emperor Palpatine, which, by the way, this opening crawl is already a better opening crawl because it just feels more like Star Wars. The iron grip of the First Order, says the opening crawl, has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. Traitorous acts are punishable by death. Determined to suffocate a growing unrest, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. Led by General Leia Organa, the Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. See, that sets up the movie. That tells you all you need to know. It does not, throw out random things like Palpatine's alive, the dead speak, which was already just a crazy concept in the first place, and obviously them trying to save face with Rian Johnson destroying Supreme Leader Snoke. But this at least says, hey, remember where we were? This is where we are now. This is what Kylo Ren's up to now. This is what he's actually doing, and this is what the Resistance response is trying to be. This already sounds like a more cohesive story that is actually worth watching. According to Burnett, entire character arcs would have been changed as well, including Luke Skywalker appearing as a Force ghost to train Rey. Well, hey, if you're going to use Luke Skywalker, if you're not going to bring him back to life, you might as well use him as a Force ghost so that Rey can actually get some training. And this is kind of cool. Kylo Ren himself being haunted by memories of his former master. Now, if that could have been changed to him being haunted by Luke's Force ghost, that could have been a cool interaction. Seeing Luke basically just show up and be like, hey, Kylo, remember me? That would be kind of funny. That'd be kind of entertaining. But of course, we didn't get this script. Finn would provide more substantial emotional support to Rey and leads a citizens' uprising against the First Order on Coruscant. Already, you're giving these characters more to do. Really, let's be honest here. What did really Finn do in this movie? What did Rose Tico do in this movie? What did any of the other supporting characters, Poe Dameron, really do in the film other than just be on screen, have a couple of lines, and simply exist? Seriously, everything was so pushed so hard on Rey as being the savior, as being the one that is, oh, you're the best fighter, you're the best that we got, and everything is on you, that it took away from all the other characters. And there's a problem there because when you're writing a good story, you need to have those characters take up the weight. The weight can't not just be put onto one character who is OP, has never been trained up to this point, and we're supposed to automatically believe is the best. That is the very definition of what a Mary Sue is, and that is exactly what Rey became even more so in the actual Rise of Skywalker story that we got. This, to me, sounds like, hey, we're actually giving you side characters with side quests, with actual development, with actual reason for existing. That is a movie that I am much more interested in watching. It says Rose Tico would be a featured as prominent main character. In reference to Tico, Burnett hopes that actress Kelly B. Tran doesn't even read the script because it seems to be treating her much better than what the film actually did, what the actual Episode 9 film did. Again, with all the criticism of Rose Tico, if she was given a good story, if she was given a good arc, guess what? Rose Tico could be a good, compelling character. The problem is that Rian Johnson wrote her character, and Rian Johnson turned her into essentially a nobody character that was obsessed with freeing space horses and brought us on one of the most boring, useless story arcs that have ever existed in a Star Wars movie. And yes, that is even more boring than any of the political talk and the Senate talk and all of the other political nonsense from the prequels. I know some people love that kind of stuff, but let's just be honest for a second. At least that stuff served a purpose and made sense in the story. You could have taken out the entire Canto Bight scene in The Last Jedi and nothing in the story would have overall changed at all. This at least would seemingly have given Rose Tico some sense of purpose. Other highlights include Poe, Finn, Rose, Rey, and BB-8 stealing a Star Destroyer to escape from a First Order battalion, Rey discovering a prequel trilogy era beacon underneath the Jedi Temple in Coruscant, which is used to issue a call to arms to Resistance sympathetic allies across the galaxy, which would explain how you just got randomly a bunch of people in the Resistance. That at least would have made sense. Again, give her an arc, give her something to do that is also in line with what the other characters are doing. It already sounds like it's a lot more interesting. And Kylo Ren fully succumbing to the dark side and killing Ben before being ultimately defeated by the Resistance heroes. And that is the story that should have been told with Kylo Ren. The moment that he killed his father, that really should have been the moment that Ben died. Now, if you want to play the game of, oh, but his mother's still alive and so he's got one last thing to do, okay. Then you could have had in The Last Jedi that be the moment that Kylo Ren said Ben Solo is officially dead. But of course, instead, we got Rian Johnson going off writing whatever the hell that he wanted to want, whatever he wanted to write. So if it would have taken this film to get to that point of saying, no, Kylo has truly succumbed to the dark side, this would be consistent with what a lot of other characters have done in the past in Star Wars. And obviously, I'm thinking more so of the EU, right? I've been on a huge EU kick lately. I finished the first book of the Darth Bane trilogy, Path of Destruction, which is freaking awesome, about opening yourself up to the dark side. That is something that they could have delved into. It's amazing how little time is really spent on the dark side, and the most time that we've spent with the dark side characters has been in this version of Episode 9 with frickin' Vampire Palpatine, and it was terrible. It was terrible. It really did not fit in with canon. It broke canon, and it just made up a lot of nonsense that just wasn't any good. And it's really sad because I know, I'm sad too. They could have done so much more, River. Isn't it truly sad? Oh my goodness, this already sounds... Again, this is just the description given to us from Bounding into Comics. As the script would have resulted in a film almost entirely different from Rise of Skywalker, the list of details provided by Burnett is rather extensive. Thankfully, Reddit user Lolly Frolon provided a summary of Burnett's description of the script to the Star Wars League subreddit, and so it gives you the opening crawl, it gives you all the different things, and so if you want to read this for yourself, you can go ahead and do so. Boom, you got actually Mustafar. Kylo Ren is alone except for a Darth Maul-esque droid. He has stubble indicating search has been long time. Ren is being haunted by Luke's Force Ghost. Again, that sounds great. This is where the Darth path leads. An empty tomb. Kylo retort, where did your path lead? Already from that one line, I am more interested in that story. Obviously, I could read the entirety of what Robert Meyer Burnett said, but the video is indeed available on his YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and look for it. Also, go ahead and look to this Bounding into Comics article. I'll leave a link to this Bounding into Comics article. I know I'm excited too, right? Isn't this something that would have been so much better? As critical as I have been of Disney Star Wars, this is a movie that I actually would have enjoyed, based on what little I know. Now, would there have been a lot of changes? Absolutely. This was a script that dated back to 2016. There are obviously a lot of changes that are going to come in, and a lot of those changes, unfortunately, probably would have been the studio interfering, which is what I honestly think led to JJ's script being such a mess, too. I think that JJ probably had certain ideas that ended up having to get completely destroyed and completely twisted around because there were just too many cooks in the kitchen, because that's what happens in a lot of Hollywood movies, where the producers and all the people behind the scenes in the corporate world say, well, no, we need this, and we need this, and we need that, and all of a sudden, you have all these things crammed together, and you have a film that just doesn't work. You have a film that is just a giant hot mess of a movie, and sadly that's what looks like we got, and sadly we will never, unfortunately, be able to get this version unless, of course, some type of miracle happens and Disney loses the rights to Star Wars, or the next person in charge of Lucasfilm Star Wars does what everyone, for the most part, as far as hardcore fans would like, and that would be, could you imagine if in a turn of events, and I know this would never happen, but just again, I can dream, right? I can dream. Someone came in and did to this Star Wars trilogy what Kathleen Kennedy and her supposed story group did to the EU, did to what's now called Legends, and say, oh, no. This is now no longer canon. This is now Legends. This is now its own separate thing. And now we're going to start to bring some of the Legends back to canon. And now we're going to start to adapt those into TV shows and movies. Could you imagine if the future of Star Wars was making films like Revan, making films like the Old Republic stories, making things like the Darth Bane trilogy, making things like the frickin' Thrawn trilogy? Those would be things that the hardcore fans would be drawn into. And that's something that you could sell and you can build on. If you want to build yourself into another massive empire and make the Star Wars IP great again, that is where you could go. That is the pathway forward. But if you're going to continue to allow this nonsense that we got and not the stuff that we should have gotten to remain canon, and we're just going to continue. Again, I just literally upped my Audible. I got the Audible free trial, 2 books with it because there was a special going on. Ended up getting the platinum membership, so I get 2 books a month. And I am already diving into Darth Plagueis and so many other stories. And it's just truly amazing to me how much better these stories are than the crap that we've gotten from Disney-run Lucasfilm. It's so sad at the point of where we are right now, where Star Wars box office is currently just doing nothing in comparison to what it was in the past, and that this film, Rise of Skywalker, will end up in history books as being one of the biggest letdown billion-dollar films of all time. And if you don't believe me on that, go ahead and check out Scotty Boy Mendelson over on Forbes. He's definitely no fan of mine. He's definitely no fan of the Phantom Menace, yet he, in all of his coverage, has been very critical of, this is tepid. This is weak. This is definitely not a strong showing. This is definitely not something to be rejoicing about. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this. Do you think that this script is real? It seems to me that it is. A lot of different people are covering it, and so it seems to indicate that there's some truth to it also. I think Robert Meyer Burnett, based on everything that I've seen from him and heard about him from people like Jeremy and others, is that he's a stand-up dude and that this dude should really just kind of leave John Campea in the dust because John Campea, seriously, just get away from him, dude. Get away from Campea. He's poison. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this. Do you think that Burnett's telling the truth? And if he is, does this sound like a better story to you? Again, already based on the small things that I've read, even just the opening crawl, it seems like a more coherent story that makes sense within the universe that they were setting up. But as I said, the only way right now really to fix the problems of this universe is to scrap it all, make this the Legends universe, and start over, create some new canon, and I would say bring some of the old non-canon into canon, if you know what I mean. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this and all the things we talked about in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash the like button, give me a subscribe, it helps me out a lot. Please check out the links, become a Patreon and Subscribe Star member if you want your name shouted out at the end of every single video. That's right, that has been a change. No longer is it just the live streams. Every video, your name gets shouted out if you are at least $1 a month Patreon Subscribe Star member. There's also other perks, including giveaways. Right now, there is a Joker 4K giveaway currently live right now. So check Patreon and Subscribe Star to find out how you can be eligible for that, and also for a lot of extra bonus content as well. As always, check out the links to support the channel. You guys are all amazing, beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. And now I want to give a shout out to my January Patreon members: animation commentator Brian P, Dion, Divex, Elizabeth M, Enrique Evangelista, Fan Addicts of Film, Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, JJ Jonathan Jerembeck, Lady T, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Perpetual Punster, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Sir Lanceloto, Theodore Bendon, The DJD Show, Those Two Ball Guys, and Tina B, and Sharon Ferguson. Sharon! Thank you so much for being Patreon members. And of course, to my Subscribe Star peeps, Larry, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevalan G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you so much for supporting me this month. You guys freaking rock. And a special new shout out to Jeff Lebowski and Steve Glasker. God bless.